Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show at Rise Up Show with me, your host, the Queen Bee, Danny Wallace. How are you feeling? As we chat this morning to the devilishly handsome, the fabulously wonderful, the incredibly knowledgeable Mr. Fidel Hill, the modern man. Good morning. Jodie Sol, good morning. Fab Naredi, good morning. Elise Woodbine, good morning. The devilishly handsome Ian Dixon, good morning, sir.
Shut up, for f***'s sake. Jesus.
The fantastic Lizzie Jackson Barrett, good morning. Josephine Sandra, everybody, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Oh, it's Tuesday morning again, and you have me stepping in for the Queen Bee herself, Danny Wallace. So, I'm Chelle Shohet. I'm an international stylist, coach, speaker, author, and also one of Danny's very good friends and one of her clients. And she has trusted me once again this week to jump in and say hi and actually make sure I've got the comments up so that I can see you. Good morning. Good morning, beautiful. I love gorgeous little things like that. Beautiful. How are you? So, out my window this morning, it is lovely blue skies. It's a bit chilly, but it's lovely blue skies. Tell me where you're coming in from, where you're tuning in from. I want to see where we've got people listening in from. And tell me what the weather's like, because I know that Danny always does that. We've got a lovely show on this morning. Good morning, Jojo. Woo! I love seeing you this morning. Yes, it's amazing to see all these lovely bees, isn't it? So I was out yesterday. I want to share this with you. So I have a photo shoot happening, a virtual one happening at the end of the week because I need some new images of this new office and things like that. And I was out getting some props and bits and bobs because I usually do my photo shoots in show houses and things like that, which I've not got the opportunity to do this time. So I got out yesterday and this is what I found. And it was totally Danny unseen. As I was coming on this morning, I decided to get it. And I'm going to get one for Danny as well and send it. So, shh, don't tell her. But I have started to see so many, since I've been in Danny's community, it has been amazing the amount of bee merchandise and bee things that I see everywhere. And it always makes me think of Danny. So, one of the things I want to ask you guys before we jump on with our lovely guest, Rebecca, this morning, I want to know, do you have anything that any communities, apart from obviously this community, do you have any other things that have little symbols like the bees, where you see things everywhere? Or do you maybe have something in your branding that is iconic to you and that people relate to you and your branding? Because I think that it's a really good way to make sure that people feel like a community. I certainly do think that here on the Show Up, Wise Up and Rise Up show, everybody knows that everybody's here to lift everybody up. It was International Women's Day yesterday, and I saw so many amazing messages. I saw so many amazing supportive posts. I saw so many inspiring stories. And I also saw so many amazing brands really starting to align with their values, because sometimes our branding can go a bit off. And there was a lot of aligning their brand from what I could see. Tell me, share with me what you saw yesterday. What was your inspiration? Maybe you saw a story, maybe you saw a brand that was more aligned with you than you realized. Maybe you shared your story for the first time. I know this time last year, I was on stage with Danny and the amazing Ladies Life Lounge, and we were doing Womanifest, and we had the most amazing time this time last year. I can't believe it's a year ago. Actually, it was kind of the weekend. So yesterday would have been the Sunday. So the 8th would have been the Sunday. And I can't believe what has happened in the last year. But that gold sparkle and the Ladies Life Lounge and Womanifest, it still evokes emotion, and it still evokes a connection with all of the women that I met there. It has some amazing memories. Let's see what Jojo thinks. Okay, so Jojo says, I think we all should have our own sassy USP. Yes, Jojo, you definitely have it. I love yours. It's just has to be truly aligned. Mine is 100% my tutu and crown. It definitely is. This is why I'm so passionate about helping others discover and develop this. Jojo, you are so spot on there. And I think that you are one of the people that I've seen that have really, really taken that step to own it, just like Danny has with the Queen Bee, and all that encompasses for her. You've definitely done it with your tutu and your crown. I know it's your stuff before I even read it, because of the look, because of the feel, but also because of the energy behind it. So if anyone else wants to share what their USP is, their sassy USP, as Jojo calls it, then please share it. In the meantime, today we have the amazing Rebecca Robertson, coming to join me today. Now, me and Rebecca have only just met. I mean, just before these shows go live, if I'm just meeting the guests for the first time, which sometimes happens, especially when I'm stepping in, then I have to try and squeeze lots of information into this thing. So be kind to us. Enjoy the conversation, because it's going to be a brand new conversation for me. I'm learning all about what Rebecca's doing. I've just had a sneak peek at her new website and her new challenge, and it looks amazing. We're going to be talking about wealth. We're going to be talking about empowering women after yesterday. We're going to have all the things to talk about. So settle in, grab a cuppa, and let's welcome Rebecca on.
Good morning. How are we doing? Do you know what? I love that intro of the show. You know, where Danny's going, morning, morning. It just makes me so cheery every time I see it on my feed. I love it. And then I come on and it's like, morning.
It's not true.
Tea and
it's not true.
No, thank you for that lovely introduction. It's really nice to meet you as well. We was having a nice little chinwag about moaning about kids and schools and stuff, like most of us, like real life stuff, right?
I know, it was so funny. I was listening. I read somebody's post today, and it just came up on my feed, and it was about the fact that at the end of the first lockdown, she did kind of like a post and a meme saying that she was like so glad the kids were going back to school. And we all know amongst us that those memes, yes, we're glad they're going back to school, but we will miss our little darlings a certain amount, because we've been spending so much time with them. And it's meant in jest. It's not meant.
I know, but I saw something where someone else was sharing something the other day, and they were like, parents shouldn't be doing that. The children will feel like it, the emotional effect on the children. And do you know, it reminded me, and I'm not to bring up the interview that went ahead yesterday, because I'm refusing to talk about it. I'm not even commenting on it. But what I will say is, in relation to this point, is that the polarization, and this is where we judge each other, and we judge our parenting skills, we judge our opinions on how someone should be treated and how they should react and how they communicate with their family. And where this happened the most, and I've seen it with, schools going back, not going back. We've seen it with vaccinations, not vaccination. So many smearing campaigns in 2020, which, were crazy. People telling me that, Oprah Winfrey was like some cult leader of some description, and all kinds of stuff came out. I believe it's a real mental health issue for society today, and social media is doing it. But it also came up at Brexit, and this polarization of judgment. And I just think I'm more than anything after yesterday, I'm more disappointed against how much, you know, should we celebrate? There's people saying we shouldn't celebrate women. Why have an International Women's Day? You know, how far we've come is absolutely crazy. You know, it's only if we talk about finances, because obviously that's not the subject. You know, 1960s or so, we wouldn't even allowed to have a bank account.
Yeah.
And I'm watching them. I don't know if you've watched this. It's freaking me out. I'm watching The Handmaid's Tale at the moment on Amazon Prime.
I've seen bits of it. I've avoided getting pulled into it so far.
Well, it's basically like taking us back like 150 years as a female society, and it really pushes my buttons. But on this point of polarization, I just find that we're all expressing ourselves, which is great that we can do that. But at the same time, is it to the point of just talking for the sake of talking? What are we really going to do about it? Like, what are you really going to do about it? Really?
And I think that I love that point, because I'm really picky about where I align myself now more than ever because of that specific point. I don't want to align myself with somebody who's not going, somebody or a brand or anything that is going to just speak for the sake of speaking. So if they're just talking, I will just not comment on something if I don't want to get into the conversation. I have learnt through personal experience. I come from a mining village in Wales. My life experience has been very different to my sisters and very different to my friends and my schoolmates. I still love them. I still have relationships with them. But there's certain subjects I just can't talk to them about, because my life experience means that I view it in a totally different lens to where they do.
Yeah, totally.
And I have compassion for that.
Yeah, and it's okay about making boundaries, right? Like, I won't go into my full life history, and I've shared this on my Facebook page, so who knows seeing it. But in my first book, I talked about a relationship with my parents, and it's difficult, and I've had to set boundaries even as an adult, more so actually. And that's difficult. It's icky, you know. But I don't, we don't necessarily put that. I don't get interviewed by Oprah for it. But I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge. I think there's just too much judgment for me. That's what makes me feel uncomfortable. And I love Brené Brown's work, which is actually, if you're judging somebody to that extent and you're that opinionated about it, unless it's something you're passionate about, you're going to make a change in the world and have a positive impact on people's lives, then just have a cup of tea, go and have a drink of wine and try and forget about it. I think we're all in this like pressure cooker, and we have to take things with a bit of a pinch of salt at the moment.
Yes, exactly. And I think also I love the fact that you bring up Brené Brown's work, because I live by some of her pieces. I really do.
Incredible. It's incredible. And her podcast is incredible.
That's the podcast I put on when I'm doing, when I'm going past that 90-second point and I'm getting really annoyed with something. It's like, right, okay, just put, because it just brings me back to thinking, actually, no, that, like, why am I getting annoyed with it? And it's usually because of something that I've experienced or something that I'm thinking or I'm judging on. And it's usually internal, not external, for me anyway.
Yeah, and or people are doing it because, and again, this is a form of judging because I'm commenting on the fact that they're doing something, and I recognise that.
Yeah.
But also, it's a case of where we try and engage as business owners to get a response. And what I've seen is quite a few backfiring the last week or so, which is quite, it's entertainment value at least. That didn't work out for you, did it?
And then you're like, oh god, I wish I hadn't.
So I tend to sort of, I'm a bit I've been in business 10 years and I've been on the online space for the majority in different ways of that, so I've seen a lot of people come and go, and those that are sort of jumping up and down the most, I don't always see having consistency and longevity in their business. And that's not because they're jumping up and down for the wrong right reasons. But you know, when you're head down, getting the work done, doing the impact, doing the piece, the actual work, then you're too busy to be quite honest, to be
totally
online all the time, and we all get distracted and sucked into that warp of black hole of social media. But you know, like most of today, I'll be sitting here at my desk working away. I've got post-it notes and whiteboards, and I've got 18 clients on this whiteboard, and I'm sitting here all day doing that. That's my job.
So tell us a little bit, Rebecca, about because I've had a sneak peek this morning at at your website, and
is that me?
Your website and your challenge page and everything like that. Tell the audience who you are in a nutshell,
and where you come from,
and tell us a little bit about what your mission is. Because I loved reading through that challenge page because it was amazing. It was really empowering.
Thank you. It feels strange to me to be still talking about this because I've been talking about it for 10 years. I've been banging this drum for 10 years. So I do podcast shows and radio shows all the time, and I forget people are still interested because I'm still doing it, but it gets a bit boring because it feels like you're repeating yourself. But I've been running my business for 10 years, and my business originally, so we was talking about branding before, was called Evolution for Women. And in the industry press, I was slagged off. It was a stupid idea. You couldn't do that kind of thing. 10 years later, it's still as powerful. But at one point, I changed the brand on the one business, which was Evolution Financial Planning. So it sort of did what it said on the tin. And that's what you'd expect a IFA, independent financial advisor, to offer advice on in pensions, investments, that kind of thing. And I do that kind of work, and I do enjoy it. But I enjoy it alongside the other piece, which is the mentoring, the coaching. Because actually, for women, it's not just about this product, or here's a pension. They have far more many questions and far more many layers to it, of levels of complexity. So I brought in about 18 months, 2 years ago, Rebecca Robertson coaching, and I sort of just did it on the side as a bit of ad hoc revenue. And then last year I actually built a website, and I built it alongside the branding that I'd built from 10 years ago. And so it was Rebecca Robertson Evo was the website, and the tree and the logo was all the same as my other, so it's sort of like all branded together as a group branding. And then I started to call myself a wealth creation coach, because that's really what I was doing. And then everyone was I was having certain conversations with people, and they were like, when you start to feel uncomfortable, like you're proper going out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I was sort of in that comfort space where my branding, I'd had it for so long, it felt really comfortable. And then I sat down with my website designer and branding lady, and I said to her, right, I think I need to change the brand. I'm really scared. I've been doing this one thing for so long. What if I get it wrong? What if, it was really uncomfortable. So she came up with a proposal, and usually I'd be a bit like, well, can you just change this bit here, and can you change that color there, and like tweaking and playing around backwards and forwards. But I didn't. As soon as I saw it, I went, holy shit. I literally went, holy cow, Batman, that is crazy. And then I created a planner. I've created a wealth planner, which is like a journal come diary. And that is literally about to go live on Amazon in the next week or so. And I'm offering it as an exclusive discount in my challenge. And there was a designer that took the branding and then did the front cover of the planner. And I opened it up. And again, it was like, like you're obviously in flow here, right? Because as soon as I saw it, I literally said out loud, and my husband was like, what's happening? I was like, holy cow. But it's got to the point now when I saw my website on Sunday, and I looked at it and went, I can't believe that's my website. I actually have a bit of imposter syndrome about this. And all of it is authentic. None of it's been made up. It's stuff I've been doing for years. But when it's like, that is a piece of you going, I'm still that girl at school that was rubbish. I'm still that, and that's how you feel about yourself, in that little piece inside. And And I talk in this way because I'm a Brené Brown lover, and I think it's really important to share some of those secret voices with other people.
Yeah,
because then they understand. Because I've got my own podcast show, and it's all about sharing those stories, because I believe it will empower others, and if it empowers them with their money, I believe that will change the world. So I've done a TEDx talk, and I believe that if women are empowered with their finances, it will change the world. And that's why I do what I do, because I believe that all women should have financial choice to leave their partners if they wish to. I believe that all women should be able to retire when they wish to. And it's not to say men can't do the same, but
no,
just
but
generally speaking, it's a paradigm change that I'm trying to support that change.
yeah,
And not because it's a nice market and it's a good, it's a niche market and it's like
it's
good
a needed.
marketing. It's because I'm extremely passionate about it, and it's something I've done for a very long time.
I love everything that you talk about. I've been kind of like stalker checking you out last night and reading some of your posts, and this morning you shared with me the website and the challenge page, and just the whole conversation around changing the way that we feel about ourselves and finances, in empowering women to have the knowledge to be able to make more informed decisions, but also to be able to trust themselves with those choices.
And when I see the results in my programs and my memberships, I'm just always blown away by it, and I'm celebrating them, and they're going, I wouldn't have done it without you. Like I had someone message me the other day saying they've cleared all their debt, they've got their house on the market, they've sold it, and they've moved into their new house, and they even had enough money to kit out the whole house and decorate the house. And she's like messaging me going, thank you so much, this is amazing. Someone in my membership yesterday, they listened to a piece of training on relationships with their partner, and they didn't join the membership to improve their relationship with money with their partner, but she described how there's always been problems between them when it comes to finances, and it's very disjointed. So then she was like, well, okay, well, I'll be independent then, and I'll do my own thing. But what that can cause in a relationship is this disconnect, that alignment that's not there, and then you're both on different paths. And I just don't think that's good in any relationship. So she listened to some of the training, and she's been trying some of the tactics with her partner. And I say tactics like you're trying to manipulate. I don't mean it in that way. I just mean opening up the conversation and doing it in a non-aggressive, non-forceful way, in the right language that can be absorbed, naturally. And they've got a joint goal that they came up with together. And because he was brought into it, rather than her trying to struggle or, not sure where to start, he went, here you go, here's 400 quid. We can get started on that goal. And she's like, he's never done that. Now, I'm not saying, should women have 400 quid of their own money? Yeah, that'd be great. But when you're in a partnership, you're doing it together. There's no harm in that. You're enabling and empowering each other. There's no harm in that. There's still teamwork involved. So there's just so many stories that when I see it happen, and many women that are women in business. But what I find, unfortunately, with a lot of women in business is that there's phases, and it's not until they're past or in a certain phase that they recognize what they've maybe done in the past that wouldn't quite be the right best choice. And an example of that is we can quite often have spending habits, personal spending habits that aren't conducive. And if we're employed and we've got a certain amount of money, that money's coming in each month. But when you're a business owner and the fluctuation, you've got other money mindset stuff that is also going on at the same time. But what can happen is the same habits that you have personally are just going to come out in your business. And there's a term that is, I'm reinvesting back in my business. Now, I won't lie, I have had to invest a lot in these last few months with a new branding, new website, the planner. I worked with somebody to get that planner together. I didn't do it all on my own. I've now taken on an ops manager. Like we're talking quite a lot of cost, but I have a successful business model to back that up. So
you can cash flow it in, you can plan it, you know how to put all of the pieces into place. And
I know the return of the investment. I know there's a return of investment because I've done it for the last 2 or 3 years, and I know that if I well, if this is my break-even point, this is how much my profit would be, and it's an ongoing model that I'm evolving. It's not like I've gone, okay, this is a whole new product and a whole new service, and I don't even know if people are going to buy. That's not reinvesting back in your business. That's taking more risk than necessary. So what I tend to see is a little bit too much of all of that going on. But once women do get to the point where they do make some smarter decisions, and they, you know, the 80-20 rule is often the most obvious. So they're getting the maximising their results from like very small amount of actually most of their effort. They stop working really, 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 really hard and start working super, super, super smart. Then they're getting better results, and then they're getting the finances. But their first reaction is, I'm going to go and buy all the stuff that I couldn't buy over the last however many years, and I'm going to treat myself. Now, I'm all for, you know, I'm part of Decent Duffel Thomas's boot camp. I get the psychology, and I love the law of attraction. I love Gabriella Brainstein and the universe has your back. I get all of that energy piece around money. But there is a huge amount of logic to stuff that if you go and spend it all, it's just going to be gone and there'll be nothing left, right? So I believe in building the financial foundations in your business so that you can actually know when you can pay yourself more. And then that leverages your position, because I also work with 6, 7 and 7-figure businesses, and I'm working with them on their exit strategy, because they don't want to be doing lives when they're 70. They don't want to be hustling when they're 70. So you create assets in your business or via your business revenue to be able to provide a future income. And you can do that. There's several different ways that you do it, and you're basically funneling the money into places that will produce future income for you. But it's you can do some of those basic things, but there's a model which is Warren Buffett, is very well used, which is make, manage and grow. And there's a couple of different like themes of thought around this, that you should just do one at a time. So focus on the make, just bring in the money. But for me, if you're then not doing any management, you've already potentially got some holes in your bucket, some leaks and stuff. I do believe you do still have to keep an eye on that. And then if you're not then allowing that money to grow, then you can, again, there's some other habits. So compound interest is like an amazing thing. And I wish that I know, as a financial advisor, very experienced, I wish when I started my business, someone was telling me this, because my pot would be much bigger because it had time to grow. So compound interest is where you earn interest on the previous years and the previous year and the previous year, so on and so on, interest. So it means that pot of money grows. So even if you're just laying foundations of financial wealth, and it might be £10 a month, £50 a month, £500 a month, whatever it is you can afford, then when the income increases and that make phase means you're making more money, you've got the systems and things in place to be able to worry about it, and it doesn't feel so overwhelming. And then you know when you can pay yourself more, and you know when you can actually enjoy life more, rather than going, can I afford to bring on somebody else? Could I afford to bring on a new team member? Could I afford to do that Amazon project or this other new system or process, or add another stream of income? Can I afford to do those things? So I just find there's a real disconnect with people's money when it comes to their values and the practicality of running a business. And then aligning that to their overall vision. Like, they're almost 3 separate things, and they're not to me. They're all succinctly working together.
I think I've been in business for the last 10 years as well. And just like you, I wish somebody had taught me exactly what you're talking about, how to put those foundational pieces in place 10 years ago. Because had I done it 10 years ago, then, you know, I wouldn't have had the struggles I've had over the last 5 years, because I would have had that foundational piece in place, the systems. But also, I have a kid now, I have a family now, and I remember getting to adulthood and realizing I had no idea how to manage money, and I had inherited really bad money mindset from my parents, and my family and my surroundings. You know, and they obviously did from their growing up and their experiences.
Oh yeah, it's a
and I have
natural
total,
involvement.
yeah, and I have total
Yeah.
compassion for that, and I don't blame anybody, but it took me a long time to recognize that actually, do you know what? I wish that when I was being told about, this is how you set up a business, this is, this is what you need to do accounting wise, this is what you need to do legal wise, I was in a very lucky position that I was surrounded by really good business people, in that they pointed me in the right direction to set up a limited company. They pointed me in the right direction to set up legals, because I was dealing one-to-one with clients. I was given that advice. What I wasn't given was how to manage and be able to grow and then reinvest and know and understand, the balancing act that it is at the beginning.
It's a massive balancing act, and for a lot of women right now that are going to be, kids are going back, they're going to be possibly completely restarting their business for some. And I would, come on my challenge, it's free. And the reason I do it is not a lot of financial advisors do this kind of stuff, because to be quite honest, we don't need to. I have an asset creating successful successful financial services business. I don't really need to be doing lives and stuff, but I do it because I'm very passionate about empowering those women. So come on the free challenge, because it will give you the systems, it will give you some of the, just the thought process around what you could be doing around your finances, so that when in 6 months time or 6 years time, however long, you've got the foundations in place, and as the money starts to increase, you've got the what I call money flows in the correct places to allow it to happen more in flow, rather than it feeling so disconnected. And it can start to feel quite overwhelming, because there's so much to consider. And for women that have done fantastically well over the last, I've seen other women that have done fantastically well over the last 12, 18 months. And the pandemic has actually meant that they've had more business than ever. Those more than ever need to really start considering their finances, and no one will prioritize this stuff. Like, if you don't give a shit, then don't expect anybody else to, because no one's going to do it for you. There's no savior, there's no Prince Charming going to come and save you this stuff, right? It's you. That's it. And no one person has the answer to it all. I don't have every single answer to you. I can show you the way, and I can give you a roadmap, and I can give you the steps, but I can't physically sit in your kitchen with every single one of them and ring up your bank and set up standing orders and look at some paperwork and know your business and what your vision and what your dreams and what your aspirations are. Only you know that. So yes, that's why I think it's a really important subject, and it's the sort of thing that we can then start to not only create a legacy for ourselves for 10 or 20 or 30 years time, but the bigger piece is actually the legacy for our children, because it then means that we're in a more empowered position. We're then giving that over to our children. I mean, like, my nearly 13-year-old daughter, wow, like, she's just such a firecracker. And we've got horses, and they're like, come and do some hay nets, Emily. She's like, how much are you going to pay me? You can't get her to do anything. It's like, well, let's negotiate. She's like, this new generation of women are incredible, and I see these millennial women that are incredible, but I still see the same tendencies throughout all generations. So I work with women that are in their 20s, 40s, 50s and upwards, and there's a similar, for a certain kind, there is a similar theme, and it's like this level of default ownership that I'll deal with it later, because that's easier, and it's nothing to do with their capabilities. It's nothing to do with that most of these women are incredibly intelligent, but unfortunately so many I speak to go and speak to other financial advisors, and they feel like they're being belittled and spoken down to, and not really given the time to explain things, so that they go, okay, I get it. It's not easy subjects, can be quite dry sometimes. I find it, really interesting, but I would.
But I think it's true that also from my personal experience, my mother was never allowed, or not that she was never allowed, actually, it was more, I don't know if she didn't trust herself or she didn't want to show herself as not being able to understand it because she wasn't given the opportunity to ask the questions and really understand it.
Yeah.
But she didn't get involved in finances.
Yeah.
She didn't get involved, and actually she had really bad money patterns, which I was totally exposed to, and even utilized as kids in order to create little pockets of money away from dad's eyes, because there's this thing that you need to, and we grew up in a place where all the nans, all the mums had their own pocket of money. Everyone knew it. It was like the most unsecret secret that went on. It's the most well-known
I get it.
That went on.
And we all understand why, because at the end of the day, they weren't empowered to have their own money. So they had to siphon it. And so that when things got bad, or, the fella lost their job, or they didn't have as many hours, or they drunk it all down the pub or whatever, that they had some spare money. And also like the running away fund, that's also spoken about, so that you have a separate running away fund. I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I support Women's Aid as one of my key charities. And a lot of people want me to support mental health, and I can see why. But for me, it's that cultural issue that is still going on. That to me is not acceptable. And I'm all for families wanting the conventional life of, less stress, one of you working, whether that's the male or the female. But that doesn't necessarily mean that then the finances belong to the one person that is working. It is a joint then financial relationship.
Because the investment in the family is just, it might not be the financials that is equal, as in the one person's bringing in money, but when you add up the hours and the effort and everything that the other person, whether they're male or female, is doing and investing. I mean, we've all experienced it over the last 12 months during lockdown, how much work it takes. And it certainly, for my husband, opened his eyes to how much juggling happens when you work from home and you've got a child and you have to school them, you have to manage the house, cleaning, cooking,
well, that's the expectations. I don't tend to do those things. And this is the issue where with my husband, for years I wasn't earning very much, and he'd be like, why are you bothering doing this, just give it up, or just go and work in a bank. And he, but once I started earning money and I was going, no, that's fine, I get that, that's no problem, paying for holidays, I got to a point where I bought my own horse, and for us financially, it's not something we would just go and do. It costs us hundreds of pounds to keep him, because I have full livery. So we're talking just on basic £500 or £600 a month just to keep him. And I had to be in a position to do that. But before that, he would always be questioning why you're in business, why you're doing what you're doing, and it was for the long goal. But I had to sort of stand by what I wanted for myself. And I don't think women always get that choice. Or what happens is they do the cooking, the cleaning, look after everybody else, and then the business fits in between those cracks. But unfortunately, it means you're in this catch-22 where you'll never be able to actually get to that next level, because it does require a certain amount of effort. But once you're past that, then it starts to become easier, because you can then afford a cleaner, or you can afford to take, not work as long hours, not have to work weekends, not have to work evenings, because there's more flow and you've got your finances together and it's all coming in, and you've got the right strategy, the right model for you.
I think this sort of
have to be on board with that. It is a family decision.
But I think this sort of education is so, so important across the board, that, our kids, boys and girls, need to be educated and exposed to more positive money management, more positive investment, more positive money mindset.
100%. Personally, I think they should just scrap half of the maths curriculum. It's completely pointless. I do not understand why they need to understand that stuff, when they don't need to understand how to manage a bank account. They don't need to understand how mortgages work, how real world works, how student loans work. how savings work, how compound interests work, how, you know, a unit trust compared to an endowment, compared to, like, there are GCSE and there are higher level qualifications that people can choose to go and do. But I'm not talking about optional because they want to work in a bank. I'm talking about the general population doesn't need to understand algebra, but they do need to understand how to manage money. So I personally think they should just scrap. And I speak openly on my TEDx talk. I got an F in maths at school. And the reason I talk about that is because I was rubbish at maths at school. So what you talked about with your mum, where she's like, well, I'm no good at it, so I won't bother. I don't want to look stupid. I started working in a bank 20 years ago. Like, I've got 21 years experience in financial services, and none of my qualifications I didn't get any in maths, were a detriment or a problem at all, because it wasn't like, you like, you can count money, like, you can count to 10, you can count money. you know? So
I work as in accounts and have no idea about those things you're talking about. So, like algebra, I'm sitting as a equivalent of a TA, a teacher's assistant, with my little boy, because he now homeschools and online schools, and he needs that in maths. I am now doing year 4 maths. I don't think I've used any of that stuff.
I'm not even joking. I'm seriously thinking, you know, like, there's a saying, and I forget who it is. It might be the Dalai Lama, like, be the change you want to see in the world. And it's like, we're talking about right at the beginning of this conversation, we're judging others and ranting about stuff. I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to, you know, get some sisters together and do something about this, because I honestly believe that the national curriculum for maths is a joke when it comes to learning that
curriculum for across a lot of the curriculum. There's some big holes, and there's some really archaic things that are being taught.
Well, you love Montessori, so the system was really designed for teaching children to become workers in mines and factories and such like. But then they've compared us to Europe and tried to offset it, and the curriculum has tried to increase their standards. And I just don't see the relevance. You know, I'm talking to people that work in HR, that work in businesses, and Simon Selleck talks a lot about this, that the millennial generation are not equipped for the workplace.
No.
Because the education system is not equipped for the current workplace. It's equipped for one that is like 100 years old. It's literally archaic. And that comes out in the fact that they're going sick with mental health issues, because actually that's the only option that they feel that they've got.
We don't teach. So come on to my subject. My expert subject is fashion style, but body confidence. And I talk to women all day long about the fact that our bodies actually change, and it's natural and it's normal for a woman's body to change, but not only once. We're told in schools, you'll have periods. They talk a little bit about bloating, but they don't tell you the whole story. They don't then tell you that if you have a baby and then you go through birth, that your body will change.
I was so shocked. I was like, what is this? What? I have to wear a nappy?
This is not something that is spoken about.
No, completely thrown. Emily's 13. And, oh my God, that was just a complete shock to the system. And I couldn't understand, holding this newborn baby, that nobody had told me basic things about down there. You know, let alone like obvious stuff.
And no one tells you then that for women, it's not just puberty and pregnancy and birth that will change your body, but then all of a sudden you'll get to another point where you'll go through menopause, and that's not including then you go through lifestyle changes. You might go through health issues that mean that you have to have medications that could affect your body. We're not equipping our children to understand and be compassionate towards themselves and their own bodies and tune into their own bodies. Just like we're not equipping them with the tools that they actually need to be able to thrive in this world.
Totally,
rather than survive.
Yeah, but I think that comes down to a lot of women in business that I know that have often the ones that are successful have done a lot of work, a lot of the inner work.
Yes.
So Brené Brown's a good example, but I've been through a year-long program with a company called One of Many.
Me too.
And
I'm a one of many coach.
You're one of many. Oh, you. So
Yeah.
you must know me through Be Wealth. So I've been part of their expert panel for 6 years.
I thought I did, but wasn't sure. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. So I've known Joanna for 6 or 7 years now, and I've been on the Lead the Change. And that got me to work on myself. And that is then using the different archetypes with my daughter. And I'm not perfect at it. I've got a lot of way to go. He's rather than it allowing it to trigger me and then for me just to respond. And it's allowed me to my relationship with my partner to deal with it all so differently, that we've got through this last year. And I think when women do that work, we're such leaders within our families, we're such influencers. And I don't believe in being superwomen, and I don't need to explain to you why I don't believe in superwomen. I think we talked yesterday about who's the most superwoman person in your world, and I just look at that and go, we are putting women on a pedestal and we are mismanaging the expectations, and it's not fair on any of us, because we shouldn't have to be superwoman. That's the wrong way to go in my view. I completely believe Joanna's message around that is really important.
Really important.
But what it does allow us to do is empower those that are close to us. So when schools are never going to have all the answer, no one's going to magically have the answer, so we have to look at our inner selves and we have to think about what difference we can make. And it's the small changes that we can do. So the fact that my daughter, for example, through lockdown, I let her ride her bike down to the yard and spend the afternoon with the horses and just not bother with school sometimes, because that was the right thing to do for her mental health. We've just spent about £800-900 on a play area in our garden. So rather than computer games or consoles, they were at -2 yesterday in their gym jams in the garden at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're playing outside. I've got a 4-year-old and a 12-year-old. So I think there's things that we can plan for and think about, that when we do the work on ourselves, they're just some small examples, but I think when we do the work on ourselves,
big differences. Like Pixie says, my brother is 21. I don't think he's ever had a job. I've worked since my teens. The generation gap is huge. And I've got a 20-year-old stepson, and he's living with us here. And when I think my husband is like 17 years older than me, so I'm kind of in the middle of him and his son. And the difference in between one way of looking at the world of business, looking at their business, because they work together now, he's gone into his dad's business.
Right. Well, at least he's doing something. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but the way they look at work, the way they come from, the angle that they come from, and the expectations that they both have can be sometimes polar different.
Well, there's an expectation that they're a little bit self-righteous, and I see that in my daughter quite a lot. Like, there's an expectation that you will give me what I want. They're used to having everything that they want, and to be fair, as a society, we've created it.
Yes,
because we've had a generation of people like myself and much like you who didn't have NAFL, so we gave everything to our kids. And to the point where, this is just my personal opinion, where we have gone to the point where the discipline at times hasn't actually existed, and we've allowed them to feel emotions because they should be allowed to feel emotions. But what I learned from Brené, it's not about that you suppress the emotion of feeling. And she had an amazing lady describe this on one of her shows, and they've got a book, and I haven't got around to reading it, but listen to this. This was like an epiphany. What we have to do is we take the emotion, we feel the emotion, and then we take ourselves through like a tunnel of dealing with it, so that we come out the other side and that we're at a point where we can handle it. What we haven't done is we've given children the permission to feel the emotion and then not actually equip them how to deal with it at all. So then they're just left with this emotion and they're not sure how to deal with it. So then they're like stamping their feet and they're 25 years old going, well, give me what I want. I don't want to have to work for it. You're not delivering what I want. That's it. I can't handle this. And then they're off sick with mental health issues. it's going to be a big issue. So yeah, I mean, I don't beat my daughter with a stick. I'm quite not
No.
I'm not like that. But you know, this morning, unfortunately, we had a cremation in our family this morning, and she had to go to school, and she gets anxiety going into school, and I could have quite easily gone, don't worry, come home. You know, we've got a cremation going on. You know, family members passed away. First day back to school, she gets anxiety. This is my personal parenting style, and I don't judge anybody that would do it differently, and I hope nobody would judge mine.
Yeah.
But I said, gave her 10 minutes. We had a cuddle. I talked through the day was going to look like, what would look like when I pick her up, what we're going to do after school. I said, look, you can do this. It's okay. It's okay to feel like this, but now you need to go into school, and you need to don't ignore anyone asking where you've been. Just tell you was running late and your brother was being a muppet. Like, don't worry about it. Okay, I can do this. And then that, I think she'd be proud of herself that she did it, you know?
Yeah. I think that I have this. So my little boy also has anxiety. He has autism, sensory processing issues. And sometimes, you know, I have to almost assess the whole morning and all of the different things that are coming into play. And it's often a balancing act to figure out, right, okay, what does he need? Does he need more latitude? Does he need more pushing? Does he need more firmness?
Yeah.
But one thing that I am totally committed to with him is making sure that he can learn these skills independently for himself. So if that means it takes me 20 minutes longer to get through XYZ, then so be it. Because he needs to be able to manage it himself. But when he feels emotions, he feels them exponentially.
Big time. Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
But he has been such a teacher for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's a blessing in so many ways. I know it's one of my very close friends is a similar situation, and I don't know if I'd quite able to handle it myself as well as she does. I literally, she's amazing, and yeah, I think it's a case of when we see, you know, other parents handling situations, there's that form of judgment again, and we shouldn't, because we don't know that child, we don't know that family makeup, we don't understand any of it. But it's learning. How do you learn that? How do you take your emotions and your own triggers out of the equation and deal with this person?
And it's really hard.
It's really difficult. Like unless you've done coaching or you've done some particular work around it. This is where my point was earlier on, is that women in business, we've got a real opportunity, because we often work on ourselves to be able to enable us in our businesses. But every day, other people that aren't in that environment, you know, let's say like the school cook, or the teacher, or the shop assistant, or the doctor's, you know, the nursery worker, like people that are more employed in very much employed environments. I'm not talking like top executive women, but I'm talking about everyday normal people, normal workers, if you want to call them that. Often now key workers, right? They're the really important jobs that they're doing. Where do they get that? How do they get that support? And that's why I love One of Many, because they are for all kinds of people. So
from every corner.
Just Google it. Anyone listening, One of Many, amazing.
Yeah. Pixie says, "Oh gosh, my niece is 10." I'd put it on the screen, but it's quite a lengthy thing to read, so I'll read it out. She says, "Oh gosh, my niece is 10 soon. She was telling me what birthday cake she wants the other day, and then said, and for the other one I want," like it was just standard. I thought, the cheek, before realizing it's my own fault, as I've always made her too minimum. Treating all children the same in order to do the best for those with more support doesn't work. It spoils the children who don't need it. I think that's where a lot of this is coming from. Treating the same and treating fairly. There's some kids that don't, and actually giving them the extra attention, and certain kids can almost use it to their own advantage if they want to. I've had that with lots of my son's friends, that maybe don't need that extra 10 minutes to kind of process and get through, but they see it's happening. And I'll be fair, but I also I'm one of the parents who will go, no, you've already shown me you understand. You've already shown me that you're fine.
They're clever.
Oh,
like
so
these kids are so clever. Like they're not stupid. They are very clever kids. But this is where that is Pixie's point. Is a really good point around money. So where we didn't have much, we then spend on our others. And we're not these days keeping up with the Joneses. It's not just a birthday cake from Asda. It's a properly made, big, fancy, like with sparklers on, balloon arches, you know, and we're talking just for like a standard birthday. We're not just, you know, and we're talking 11, 12, 13. Like we're talking whatever the age, like these girls, you know, fairy princess stuff.
They almost have the sweet 16 every single birthday, don't they?
And obviously in lockdown, when you can't do anything else, you don't really blame them. But then, you know, when you're doing presents and days out, and it's more and more and more and more and more. But what that does, not just from a psychology, from a children's perspective, but it does change their money habits very much so. But often the intention, let's just be honest, these parents are trying to be nice. It's not a horrible thing that they're doing. But they're not necessarily setting up their children in the best possible way, because their work ethic in terms of working for stuff. And I'm not talking about working hard, because that's a bad, what we were taught probably as kids, that you have to work hard to get ahead. No, you have to work effectively and
smart.
Get ahead. But what often we're doing it's a form of love. You know, we love them, so we want to spoil them. You know, we get something out of it, because we're giving to them and we see their little faces and it's so lovely. But what happens is actually there's a misalignment there, and all we end up having is more plastic rubbish around the house, more stuff that we don't need, clothes that don't fit them, or things they don't play with and they chuck it away and they don't even use it. And we get to the end of the month or the end of the year and we haven't achieved the family holiday that we wanted, or we haven't achieved our financial freedom, or you still haven't invested in your pension, and I still haven't sorted out that credit card, and I still haven't done this and this. But it's okay, because the kids got absolutely spoiled and they were happy little, you know, but they expect it the year after and the year after. My kids do get a lot, but I also, you know, I don't go as far as I could in some examples, and there's no wrong or right. Like there's no judgment in terms of whether you spend £100 at Christmas or £1,000 at Christmas. There's no judgment. It's all within our means.
I have to laugh. My little boy definitely wants to be a chef. Has said that since he was 2.5 years old.
Wow.
So actually 18 months old was the first time he was like wanting to have a kitchen and a cooker and all of this, and he's still to this day. But one Christmas a few years back, that's all he was talking about at the time, was cooking and I didn't have the utensils that were suitable for him. That's what he got for Christmas. He got a hamper full of utensils, knives, chef whites. He was over the moon with his kitchen stuff, that his weighing scales, his saucepans. That was his Christmas. That and a little forest school kit.
But he loved that, and it's not like then you got more and more and more and more.
No, he still uses it. He's like, it gets used constantly, and like we get told, don't use my stuff. That's my chef kit.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's about, you don't have to spend the earth on keeping up with the Joneses. Know your kids, and you'll be able to really tick their boxes. And now he, you know, we've got a roundup now, but like this morning we've started to re-implement that there's certain expectations around the house because you know, the laundry is slacked recently during this lockdown and tidying up after one another. But once we re-implement the expectations and the or he likes to call it expectations, he knows what he's expected to do.
Well, it's clear boundaries for them, and actually children like that. And just to wrap up on the financial element, I always suggest you get a bank account. So Starling Bank, if you have a personal account, you can add what's called a kite account. So my daughter has a kite account, and her pocket money goes into that account. and it allows her to save and it allows her to spend. So if she wants to go to the shops and buy, you know, some sweets or something, and it comes out of her account. I don't buy any of that. 9 times out of 10 for her. And if she wants something that's an extra treat or an extra present, they don't tend to get anything most months. It's only really birthdays or something that they will get extra presents, because they generally have that comfortable lifestyle, right? So it's not like, you know, they don't. But if you ran in and went, I want these shoes and I want these dresses and I want this and I want that, I'll be like, no, I'm not getting it for you. No, you can save up and get it for yourself if you want. So enabling them with either jars, pocket money, and actually seeing it, especially if they're younger, seeing it in jars. And
what Joanna did with her
Joanna does 3 jars.
I did that with Dex, because
it's give, save, spend, I think. So you have 3 jars. If you gave them £5, you'd get them to split it up, actual coins, real money, and you get them to split it into 3 jars. They have to give to charity, they save a third, and then they can spend a third.
Let's see what last. Oh gosh, hello friend.
Is that a looks like a spam?
Yes.
And we're just gonna
scroll past that. Right, we are gonna wrap up. We could talk about this all day long. So thank you so much. We have an amazing amount. So thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining me this morning. It has been an absolute pleasure. I can't believe we actually did know each other and didn't realize it.
No.
I'm gonna pop you backstage, but before we go, where can people find you? Where can people go to get onto your challenge this week and be able to follow you in the ether, in social media land?
You can come and find me on my free group. I've got a podcast show called Accelerating Your Wealth. And I've got my challenge. If you go to rebeccarobertson.co.uk, that's my new website from today. You'll find work with me, and you'll see the challenge listed down there. And then you'll find the podcast also on there.
Perfect. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Rebecca. I'm going to pop you backstage. I'll be back with you in a moment. Well, what an amazing conversation that has been. This morning has been one of those conversations that completely light me up. Rebecca totally talks my language, as you probably guessed. But thank you for joining us here on the Show Up, Wise Up and Rise Up show this morning. I love coming in and jumping in on Danny's behalf and being able to chat with you all. It's been amazing. It's been a really juicy conversation. Go and follow Rebecca. Go and get on her challenge. There's so much to learn, and we can empower ourselves as men and women to be far more informed and also pass that on to our kids, which is one gift that money can't buy. So have an amazing day. I hope the blue skies are the same for you as it is for me, and I hope you'll have an amazing week. Make sure to join back in and tune back into the Show Up, Wise Up and Rise Up show with Danny Wallace tomorrow, the Queen Bee herself, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care, everybody.